Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for some more ripping and tearing. And today, we're going to be taking a look at a mod that aims to recreate elements from the Doom Bible. The Doom Bible is very different from what we ended up getting. There are actual different characters. This would later be recycled in Rise of the Triad. We got the two names here, Lorelei Jen and the Barrett, both of which would be seen in Rise of the Triad. Now, we've got some different levels here, we've got some different, I think the game is more or less the same. We've got a wide variety of different elements that make this a particularly impressive mod. I'm actually playing with any gameplay enhancements, just straight Doom plastic. This is going to be one of the last Doom mods I've played for a while. Also, equal opportunity as character. Because after this, I intend to go back to Alien vs. Predator 2010. I haven't played that since 2013, and I wonder if it's actually any better now after the debacle of Alien Aliens. Also, we've got reflections! Oh my god! Truly, we are living in the future. And you gotta love that committee. I think I quite prefer this version of the original Doom. Soundtrack's a little more aggressive. We've got elevators. Oh my good god. Truly, we are living. I gotta say, the fireball in this is a little less than impressive. This is one of those mods, though, that I didn't expect to like nearly as much as I did. It's one of those things I randomly came across. Also, Duke Burger, because, well, Duke is going to make money somehow. Certainly not by selling games, it's how you sell that, whatever brandy pitch for the busted. Alright. Now that should theoretically fix that. Alright, that should have fixed that audio issue. There's so many different steps to get these bloody streams to work right, and I just so happen to miss one. You have to restart the audio engine. As I was saying, before I was rudely interrupted by technical issues, and hello everyone. Before I was interrupted by technical issues, this is a mod based upon the original Doom Bible, which was a little different from Doom. By a little different, I mean considerably different. Oh my god, look at the graphics, it's amazing! We've got VTOLs, ladies and gentlemen, and we have the alarm sound from Doom 3. Truly, we are living in the future. Dawn of War 2. Oh yeah, Dawn of War 2. I never actually got that game to work. It required like at least when I got it, it required some sort of Xbox Live thing that I was never able to actually sign into. The only thing that did work was one of the expansions, and if I'm not mistaken, I got killed by the Tyranids every goddamn time and gave up. And that was like at least 7 or so years ago. Yeah, that was a Doom Bible. It was all the things that Doom was supposed to be. What's kind of interesting is id Software is a bit different from what you would expect. If you actually look at the design documents and things of that nature behind a lot of these major games that id Software did. Oh my god, we've got some kind of sound effects. I'm not really sure what's supposed to be happening there. But if you look at like the design documents and things of that nature behind the different id Software games, they're all really, really complicated. To the point where it almost seems like id Software wanted to create RPGs. The original Doom Bible outlined a much more complex story than kill demons. You had multiple playable characters, all sorts of things, that ultimately that was all pared back to just shoot demons in face. Quake also, I think, was supposed to be sort of a dark RPG kind of thing, where like you fought, where the enemy you fought was named Quake. It's all kind of interesting, and also very ironic that for a company that I think really, really wanted to make RPGs, they made some of the most straightforward games of all time. Now we've got some different weapons here, in addition to the enemies. We've got submachine gun, and the shotgun has like this weird blunderbuss thing on it. I'm not really sure what the developers were going with that. It's like shotguns don't really look like that. Why would there be this giant thing at the end of there? And hopefully the audio is working. Hopefully. It is one annoying aspect of trying to get everything to work. Used to be it was so much easier, but alas, not anymore. And so, I have finally sat through Mandalorian Season 2, and I have to say, it seems like The Mandalorian has gone from an adequate Star Wars TV show to what is basically the apology. Essentially, you know, Lucasfilm is starting to apologize to all the fans that got burned by Feminist Screed, aka the sequel trilogy. I know there's some people who like it for its own merits, and more power to them, but it was all week, Ross, dude. All week. Hopefully I may get a day off next week. Hopefully. Maybe. But as we say in the business, press X to doubt. And Prey, Andrew, depending on whether you're talking about Prey 2007 or Prey 2017, I played both. Both are really pretty good. Both are very different games, to the point where Prey 2007 is more of a late 2000 shooter, and Prey 2017 is basically oh, don't tell me. Okay, we gotta be fast. Okay, let's... No, don't tell me I did that. Nope, can't do it. I can't do it fast enough to cheat me any health. So I literally have to start all of this again! But moving on. Let's see. Game sound is... That's the problem when you don't get too much sleep. It's like I forgot every single step that it takes to actually get these streams to work right. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot to restart the audio engine, and I forgot to move the microphone. Off to a bad start. But for me, I'd actually say that the apology for the sequel trilogy did come a bit too late, but at the same time, I'm going to watch it anyway. And besides, it's not like The Mandalorian is really Star Wars canon to begin with. I mean, it's very different from what the EU, you know, set out to do. I am interested in that they're going to bring Grand Admiral Thrawn in. We'll see if it's actually worth it or not, though. I don't think they're going to change him too much, but I guarantee you they're going to simplify, like, everything. Now, I've actually looked at some of the gossip behind the scenes for Mandalorian. It looks like the guy who plays the Mandalorian character is pissed off he can't take off his helmet. And then there's talk where the Mandalorian's not even going to be the main character, it's going to be Boba Fett. I think that's pretty dumb. I'm a big fan of the Mandalorian character. He's a great anime protagonist. Essentially, to me, the Mandalorian is a live-action anime. I mean, it has that really stilted dialogue of an anime. It's got the fights of an anime. I mean, seriously, those stormtroopers should do a little better than that. And the whole thing just has a very anime feel. And, like, if you get rid of, you know, the Mandalorian, you won't have the awkward guy trying to learn how to be, you know, a superhero. I mean, Boba Fett is just way too OP to really be a good protagonist. Arguably, the Mando is a bit too OP as well. But, I gotta say, I like how they don't actually have the Mandalorian be weak one episode and then strong another one. That was one issue I had with a lot of those 90s protagonists, in that they ended up basically becoming too weak and then too powerful at the same time. At least Mando has a fairly consistent power level throughout. And yeah, Thrawn is an entry-level gaming laptop. My recommendation is don't do it. Any laptop you get is going to cost ridiculously... It's going to cost a lot more than an entry-level desktop would cost you. I guess if you don't have any room... Actually, when it comes to getting any sort of gaming anything, a laptop really is not a good idea. Unless you really want to do portable gaming, getting a laptop it all costs way more than a desktop would, or even one of those little mini PCs. If you're lacking in space, I'd honestly recommend looking at a miniature PC of some description. Like an Intel NUC or something like that. They're gonna cost, even an Intel NUC, despite being a bit overpriced for what it is, it has a much smaller footprint, and it's gonna do better than any sort of entry-level gaming laptop would. The one thing you'd want to do with a Intel NUC, though, is you'd want to replace the platter drive with a SSD, but that's a fairly inexpensive upgrade. But if you really wanted to go laptop, there's some HP laptops that I think Walmart had for Black Friday, and I imagine you can still get them here and there. And that should get you kind of started with PC gaming, but honestly, the most cost-effective way of getting into PC gaming is, of course, just building a desktop. The components are going to be substantially cheaper, and you're going to get more power per dollar out of a full-on desktop. Miniature Day. Gas Skull. That's going to be a bit expensive. I never actually picked up any Warhammer minis, except for one, and that was a Starship, which is pretty nice. Although I gotta say, I don't really like the Warhammer 40k Starship aesthetic. I think it's just too stylized for its own good. It honestly feels like it's stylized for the sake of being stylized, which 40k, I have some issues with 40k. It's almost too stylized of a universe to really be that enjoyable. It's hard for me to really suspend my disbelief when it comes to a lot of those books. Now, there are a few exceptions, but when it comes to, like, the Warhammer 40k universe as a whole, I like it substantially less than Warhammer Fantasy. I mean, Space Marines are cool and all, but they just are kind of generic. Although Warhammer 40k Space Marine the game wasn't, even if that was a dead on arrival franchise. Now, speaking of id Software, I finally was able to finish Rage. Oh, good God, ladies and gentlemen, was that a terrible game. Now, it's one of those weird games where the middle is great, but the beginning and ending are absolute shit. The beginning for Rage, it just drags on and on. Like, you meet John Goodman and he gives you a few generic missions, you kill a few generic enemies, and then done. Once you finally get done with that, you can finally start exploring, leveling up a little. Well, leveling up. You do kind of level up, but you don't get XP, and there's no leveling system. But it essentially is leveling up as you get better weapons and cars. And then the game does become fun in the middle, but the ending just shows up. It's really idiotic. It's like, the ending is just, oh yeah, by the way, we're gonna go fight our ultimate enemy that we introduced one mission ago. Yeah, don't you know how terrible the Authority is? Like, if you thought it was abrupt to become head of the, Highwaymen, or whoever the fuck it was in Fallout 4, you thought that was abrupt? The ending in Rage, it's like they either ran out of money, time, or effort. Because it's just like, 1 minute you're fighting generic, raiders. Next minute, oh yeah, by the way, our ultimate enemy, the Authority, must be defeated because... and reasons... and because. It was really unsatisfying. And then, like, the final level was complete crap. There is one really good level where you fight steampunk Russians. Also, why do you have 2 blades on the bayonet? That's just insane. Really stupid. But there was one level where you fought steampunk Russians. It was great. That would make for a good, ending. Instead, you get a very unhappy ending in Rage. It's like, it's a bunch of pretty crappy corridors you fight through in the very last level, and then one arena, and then done. And you don't even get the satisfaction of seeing an actual ending. It is literally just, you zoom into an arc opening up, and that's it. Game over. I mean, you would think they would actually put some effort into, creating an actual ending or something. It's one of those things where Rage is not an absolutely abysmal game, but when you actually beat it, it's going to leave you with nothing more than just disappointment. Let's see. McFarlane made a Space Marine figure? I did not know that. If you're not tech savvy, then I would actually recommend a mini PC, because a mini PC will get you started. Honestly, just look up Intel NUC. It's an all-in-one PC. It's got a very small floor footprint, and well, it'll do what you want it to do for less money than it would take to get an actual gaming laptop. Because, like, one of the big issues with gaming laptops is you've got cooling issues. God damn it. You've got issues with cooling. You've got issues with, like, if you want to actually upgrade the hardware. Like, I had a HP laptop given to me many, many years ago, and it was utter crap. I mean, it was one of those things where it was a gift. I would have never bought it myself. It was utter crap because you could not replace the hard drive. If you wanted to replace the hard drive, you essentially had to disassemble the entire unit, and I wasn't about to do that. And it was absolute garbage in terms of performance as well. It's like it couldn't even run Dark Souls 1. I can't imagine how much that bloody thing must have cost, because it had a touch screen and everything. But it was just ultimately, if you can't upgrade your computer, I don't get the point of why you'd even get one. It's an Intel NUC, N-U-C. Let's see. Where is that? I don't know what else they could have cut out of Rage, because, like, they cut out the entire ending for whatever reason. Rage, I always end up saying this when it comes to stuff like that, because there's the bones of a good game in there. If they could have actually had an ending, and, like, there's two ways to fix Rage. Way the first is give an actual ending, like, and all you need is just to tack on something. All you gotta tack on after you see the little arc open up is cut back to the, resistance base and say, like, now we've got to use the forces we haven't had to take down General Cross, and then have him look at the camera, and then there you go. There's your crash to black. But to just have nothing is just ridiculous. As for the beginning of the game, the way to fix that is let you fight something. Don't just have John Goodman shoot the goddamn mutants for you. I think, honestly, id Software was more focused on the animation engine, because the animations look pretty good. But that's the only thing that looks good in that game. Like, the graphics even look really crap. Like, I thought the graphics weren't even displaying properly, they were so bad. I mean, the texture work, I mean, I get that it's a game from 2011, but still, the texture work is absolutely terrible. Now, I'm pretty sure why it was absolutely terrible is because they wanted to fit that on an Xbox. But still, though, it's just, Rage has got, the clickbait title card I had commissioned says, Rage, the worst id Software game? And yeah, by far it is the absolute worst id Software game. If the ending had been any better, I would have still recommended it, but with how horrible that ending is, I really don't. We require immediate military support. Something friggin' evil is coming out of the gateways. Computer systems have gone berserk. It looks like Bob has downloaded too much porn recently. I mean, seriously, Bob, just go to Pornhub. How hard is that? And use an ad blocker. Let's see, this is why Bob has male pattern baldness. But enough about Bob somehow infecting the US military mainframe. You know, I say that as a joke, but I'm sure that's happened. You know, like the goddamn computer systems. Actually, I know that the computer systems controlling the nukes are actually absolutely ancient. It's a good thing they are, because I can guarantee you that some idiot, working for the government probably does, like, download some, probably would download some virus trying to download the prawns and have the entire nuclear arsenal fired off. But anyway, nuclear arsenals being fired off. Yeah, Rage, just absolutely terrible. Don't even bother. Don't even waste $10 on it. Don't even waste $1 on it. It's just not even worth it. I have no idea how such a thing could be made by id Software. I mean, it's not as bad as, say, Colonial Marines, but that's not saying much. It just seems like there was very little effort put into the game, and I'm looking forward to like completely shitting on it, but I was really hoping there was some redeeming value to that game, but there just isn't. It's kind of sad because it had potential. The Steampunk Russian level was really, really good. It's just the rest of the game is really, really bad. Like, they couldn't even get their boss fight right. Because there's a boss fight with a random mutant. He's like really huge, and it seems like it's cool, but the hitbox on that thing is utterly broken. Even in 2020, it's still broken. Like, you would think in any game, any other game, you would shoot at a glowing spot. Well, the hitbox for the glowing spot doesn't work, and you have to shoot like near it and hope the splash damage kills it. And I think the developers knew that was broken and didn't bother fixing it because you have infinite amounts of rockets. It's like, if this was done by, say, THQ or something like that, I could forgive some of these issues, but like, this is id fucking Software. I mean, we're still playing Doom to this day, and they couldn't put a little more effort into goddamn Rage? I am not even gonna play the DLC. Nothing bad, better than Disney sequels. Alien 3 Assembly Cut. I still will say to this day that having seen Alien 3 on multiple occasions, it is a terrible film no matter what cut you watch. And I know some people love it. I don't know why, but some people do. I mean, there's some people who like Rocky Horror Picture Show unironically. But Alien 3, no matter how you try to do it, is a terrible film. I mean, it is just awful. It is a boring, dull, brown slog of a film. And certainly not in any way, shape, or form a proper sequel to Aliens. It wouldn't even be a proper sequel to Alien, much less Aliens. I mean, you go from, you know, a fairly muted color palette in Alien 1, then you go to a blue color palette in Alien 2, and then, you know, Alien 3, you've got this brown vomit with characters that are equally as dull. I mean, I get that Baldy Ripley is pretty attractive, but whatever. That can't save a film. A bald Ripley cannot a film save. Alright, let's continue. But yeah, the Intel NUC. I discovered that not too long ago. I was looking for a fairly small form factor computer for my grandfather that would be completely and easily understandable, seeing as how he's been out of the tech game for like the last 20 years. So something that he could just plug in and play some games. What's really kind of awesome though is I was able to get him to play Dusk, and he's a big fan of it. I mean, he's really enjoying that. Like, he's playing it right now as I play this game, and it's like awesome. Finally, a game that he actually likes, because Dusk is a really damn good game. If you have not played it, spend the $10 on the next Steam sale. It is truly one of the best retro revivals. One of the issues I do have with retro revivals, though, is I feel like they don't get why some of the stories were kind of overly cheesy back in the 90s. And I think they try to be cheesy for the sake of cheesy and kind of miss that bit of nuance. Alright, let's see here. See, what was that? You know, I get that the prequels are often said to not be that bad, but that's still not saying much. It's once again kind of like Alien 3. You know, Alien 3 isn't an absolutely horrible film, but it certainly does not do Aliens justice in any way, shape, or form. But just because it's not as insulting as the sequel trilogy, it's still not saying much. I kind of respect the prequels for what they ended up becoming. The prequels ended up becoming not as horrible. I mean, you got the Republic Commandos, you've got the Ashoka character, which was pretty awesome in Mandalorian, but at the same time, Ashoka is one giant plot hole of like, why did she not do anything during, you know, Order 66? You know, why was she never mentioned in any of the Clone Wars media prior to, you know, the Clone Wars animated or CG animated series. It's like, it really doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, that is such a jarring thing. It's actually about as bad as Galen Merrick. I mean, like, this is kind of a character that you would think somebody would have mentioned at some point. And it just is an obvious retcon. And not even the good kind of retcon. We're like, oh yeah, we're going to have this event take place slightly earlier. No. We're going to have a whole new character that changes the dynamics of literally everything. I think my biggest problem with Star Wars by far is the fact they did way too much with the Darth Vader character. It was better that we didn't know the things he got up to before he went back to the light, because the more you learn about Vader, the more you kind of can come to see Luke as a bit of a dope for giving him that fast. I mean, just from what we saw in the movies, you know, he choked out 2 people and, you know, shot down some rebel pilots. Nothing too bad. But originally, we didn't know that the Larses had any connection to Vader whatsoever. And then, I believe canonically, Vader enjoyed watching the Larses get vaporized. It's like, really, Luke? You're gonna forgive that? Really? Yes, I have listened to William Gibson's Alien 3, the audio drama. It's not my favorite. I like there was another cut, or another version of William Gibson's screenplay that was a lot better. The audio drama, it's definitely better than the film, but it's not that much better in my opinion. I liked it when I first listened to it because it was some new Aliens media, but I really quite liked the very first draft of the Alien 3 script, just because there were some more Marines. The Asian chick at the end of the screenplay showed up and blew away an alien queen. It was awesome. Now, one thing I did like about the audio drama was Lance Hendrickson had a big role in it, and I really liked that because I was a big fan of the Bishop character. Ultimately, you know, Alien 3 is just one of those things that it's very hard to get that right. If they were going to make it a proper Alien 3, they should have just adapted Aliens Earthhive. I get the feeling that's going to be turned into a Netflix thing at some point. I just get the feeling, because Aliens Earthhive can easily be made into a film today, and it wouldn't even require, or maybe not even a film, but a mini-series. It wouldn't even require a high budget either. I mean, it would be fairly cheap to make. Let's see here. Let's see. Boba or Jango? You know, it's a hard question to answer, mainly because Boba Fett never really did much in the EU. Jango is a fairly interesting character in that he does have to go through a lot of shit to get to the point where he is in the Clone Wars. I do recommend taking a look at the prequel comic, and I bet that's going to be slightly, ever so slightly canon. Actually, no, it can't be. I just realized. But I'll get to why that can't be canon in a minute. Check out Open Seasons, the graphic novel. That's something I didn't even know existed until I played the Bounty Hunter video game. There's actually comic panels of that comic in the game, and the comic really goes into Jango's backstory, the likes of which has not really been seen since. Like, we saw more of Jango than we ever really saw of Boba, outside of some odd young adult novelizations. But Jango Fett starts out as a slave for many years, then escapes his enslavement and goes on a roaring rampage of revenge. Then he's got to actually fight some Jedi hand to hand, because the Jedi end up killing a bunch of Mandalorians. It's pretty great, actually. The only problem I have is Jango is once again a bit too OP. It really kind of puts paid to the whole idea that Jedi are these unstoppable, like close combat monsters. Because in the Open Seasons comic, Jango does go hand-to-hand with a bunch of Jedi and literally kills them barehanded. If he can do that, and he's just a normal human, surely, you know, a character like Master Chief should easily be able to handle anything approaching a Master. But people still like to say that Master Chief wouldn't stand a chance against Jedi, which, if Jango can, I'm just saying. Now, in all reality, though, Jango's armor is not actually Mandalorian Beskar. It's actually Durasteel, at least it used to be. Because in the original continuity it was Durasteel, and that was actually because he wanted to cheap out on it. And that's the reason why he got his head cut off by Mace Windu. Oh yeah, spoiler alert for a movie from 2002! Had he not cheaped out and used Durasteel, he might still have a head. And Boba might not be, shall we say, quite so cold. Now, it was really awesome to see Boba coming back, but one thing that's pretty funny, though, is that spandex bit of the new Boba Fett costume does not leave much to the imagination. And unfortunately, you can still see some of the Boba guts. Just saying, he does have a little bit of a paunch there, and it's pretty obvious. I mean, the old joke of Boba Fett, well, he's kind of got some fat there. They could have had the armor come down a little bit further to kind of hide that. Because it's pretty obvious which one's Tamura and which one is the stuntman. It's just not very flattering. That's why, you know, you saw TNG go to the much more flattering uniforms after everybody kind of got a bit of a gut. Let's see. Yeah, that was that Tales of the Bounty Hunter thing, where his original name was supposed to be like Jest or Real. And yeah, I've heard of the Aliens RPG board game, but I've never actually played it or seen it in real life. And yeah, he was kind of like that too, Count Dooku, in many respects. My only problem with Jango is I think they killed him off a bit too early. I think he should have actually survived the Battle of Geonosis, because he had some pretty good character. Also, it's kind of tragic, though, that when he kills off Zam Wesell, which is a really stupid name, by the way, when he kills her off in... I need to find a blue key. When he kills her off in Attack of the Clones, it's actually pretty tragic, because in one of the Boba Fett young adult novelizations, and yes, of course I read those. I don't call myself a Star Wars fan for nothing. Actually, no, I take that back. It wasn't from the young adult novelization. It was actually from the Zam Wesell comic. And of course I own that. Why would I not? In that comic, or was it one of the books? I can't remember. In some piece of media in the original EU, she actually ended up kind of like becoming a almost mother figure to Boba Fett. It's actually kind of sad, because he's like really broken up about it when she ends up dying. One of the great things though about The Mandalorian is it kind of drops the whole, you know, daddy issue thing that Boba Fett had in the EU. Because even as of like 40 years after Jango had died, at age like 70, Boba Fett is still traumatized by seeing his father's head get cut off. I mean, I get that that's a traumatizing thing, but you would think that Boba would have tried to have worked through that a little bit more. Just saying. It kind of like does a disservice to his character in some respects. So I think that's why I'm glad that like he's a little more well-adjusted in the Mandalorian show. Now we shall see if they're able to keep up that quality. One thing that is kind of annoying though is I get the feeling they're going to try to position the female Mandalorian, Bo-Katan, as like the new main character. And I think that'd be kind of annoying just because while I do like Katie Sackhoff in Battlestar Galactica, the big problem I have is she just can't really emote that well. I mean, she can do evil pretty well, but she can't really do much of anything else. Need to find the bloody red key. remember this level being somewhat confusing because it actually goes around a hub. He blows it up. I literally just today started reading, there's also a short story that covers that as well. I started reading The Mandalorian Armor by K.W. Jeter, which talks about how Boba Fett was able to escape. Actually, it doesn't talk about how he escapes, but how he's able to regain his position as #1 bounty hunter. The writing isn't that great, but it's not a horrible book either. But he basically blows it up with the rocket. But he's really fucked up afterwards. Like, he is seriously injured by all that acid and shit that's in there. And also, the Sarlacc is able to mind rape him as well, and that causes him some problems. It's an overall kind of... The Sarlacc is every bit as creepy as you would expect. Okay, now where the hell am I supposed to go? That's one problem with this level. It's like, it is very easy to miss one of those doors. Especially when you're yabbering on about things. And yeah, they really should keep the Mando as the main character, because I quite like that guy. I know that the guy playing him is supposed to be really annoying, but I like the character as a whole. I mean, I would like it if he could take his helmet off, but really, Mando is the exact kind of protagonist that one would want. I mean, he's sort of a newcomer, sort of naive in a way. There's that blue key. Get to hear all the knuckle snapping. Alright, now let's try to find that blue door, shall we? I happen to like the fact that it's at least using some EU stuff, just because at least they're trying. It's better than trying to come up with new stuff like, oh yeah, the Sith now just sort of like take over the minds and bodies of people, which never, no one even well, no, I take that back. Darth Bane did kind of have a thing about that. But still, though, it was kind of dumb. Really, the whole sequel trilogy mess, I think, is just going to be decanonized. I mean, they decanonized the EU. They should be able to decanonize that crap. Okay, there we go. That's the only problem. I'd love to have a nice compass, especially with a level this size. I am surprised they went this far and actually having a little hub area like this. Count Dooku isn't bad. I actually think his death was one of the more well-handled ones. Although when you've got something like the Clone Wars, he was potentially killed off multiple times. Only it was just a clone or a Force ghost or some crap like that. And Dooku's characterization kind of is variable depending on whether or not he's the main villain of an episode or of a game. And to me, that's kind of annoying because one minute he's, you know, pretty reasonable, the next minute he's a mustache twirler. But I guess that's a problem when you're trying to coordinate multiple works over a 5-year period or however long that Clone Wars crap's... Well, the initial Clone Wars crap started. And it's like, after 2002, you had a bunch of Clone Wars games, you had the first animated series, then like, it should have just ended with Revenge of the Sith. I don't know why they had to persist with that. I don't know why they were so afraid of actually, you know, having a sequel. Okay, now where the hell am I? Okay, I need a red key to get through there. Standalone episodes. And yeah, that first animated series is pretty damn good. And it's the only animated Clone Wars piece of media that I even consider remotely canon. I mean, what other issue with that 3D animated series was like, Savage Opress, really? That's the guy? I mean, like, his name might as well just be Bob Evil at this point, you know? Savage Opress? I mean, come on! I mean, sometimes those, silly names can be kind of funny, like Nighthammer. which is the name of a Star Destroyer. It's like, okay, fine, but really, who would name their military starship that? But anyway, it's like, you know, the whole idea of a guy being named Savage Opress, though, really strains incredulity. I mean, come on. It's like, I'm just a bad guy. And then the Dark Saber, where it's a dark lightsaber. When I saw that in the season finale of season 1 of Mandalorian, it's like, really? They're gonna bring that in? I also find it annoying that Ahsoka does not actually use, you know, more traditional lightsaber colors. Instead has like the bloody silver ones. It's just, it'd be nice to see actual traditional lightsaber colors, but whatever. I guess we're not gonna get that. At least she's somewhat of a Jedi, even though they really nerfed her powers, like, a lot. Now, I would like to see the Republic Commandos show up. If they brought back Sev, I'd almost be tempted to buy some Mandalorian merch at some point. Like, if they bring back Sev, it's like all the other commandos are dead, but Sev is the one that somehow survives. I would literally go insane with joy if they were to bring back Sev in that way. I don't think such a thing would ever happen. Okay, that actually leads to nowhere, and I want to try to get through a couple levels for this. That's it. The only reason I'd go in that room is to get a chainsaw, which really is not that useful. Not that useful at all. And yeah, I don't really know why they went with that weird 3D kind of thing for Clone Wars. And they're still making more of that bloody Clone Wars animated series. I don't understand it. I mean, you would think, it's like, there's no point. There's just no point. Obviously, the Empire has to come to pass at some point. Honestly, it's about as egregious as MASH at this point. An 11-year show for a war that lasted, like, what, 3 years? It's like you have an 8-year-long show for the Clone Wars, which I think lasted a grand total of 3. But whatever. That's just what we're gonna get. I still would like to get a live-action Doom series. I mean, it would sell. People would love it. Or there might be an unfair comparison to Mando. You never know. Even though technically, well, I guess Boba Fett does predate that. One good thing also about Mando is just the fact that they finally made Boba Fett a badass. Because in the actual films, you don't see him do too much badassery. I mean, when you think about it, him going up against Han Solo, I mean, that's sort of a foregone conclusion. But still, just getting smacked with a gaffy stick and then launched right into the bloody Sarlacc. Yeah, that's not really the mightiest bounty hunter in the galaxy, and gets an accidental kill. That just, yeah, they never sat too right with me. They made 7 seasons of that. Mugshot, the guy was... Magnus Red arrested in Florida. Well, I mean, makes sense. See, for me, it's like the Clone Wars the second Clone Wars animated series, it seems so egregious. And also Savage Opress. I can't get over that name. I just can't. It's so stupid. Why would you ever name a character Savage Opress? That honestly sounds like a goddamn Captain Planet villain. I mean, what's his father's name? Loot and Plunder? Yes, it was an actual Captain Planet villain name. Although, in a weird way, Captain Planet does give us the name Duke Nukem, because there was a character in that named Duke Nukem. See, the big problem with, like, the CIS is, what was the Confederacy of Independent Systems, like, what exactly were they gonna do different from the Republic? I mean, they had the same corrupt government, they committed the same kind of war crimes, so why would I back the Robros again? It's one of those things of, you really weren't supposed to think about it too much, I think. Because, like, you trade, you know, the corrupt and decadent republic for a crony capitalist corporatocracy that has even less freedom. So it's never really got that. This is a yellow door, isn't it? Yep. Or an orange keycard. Oh, we're fancy today. In all reality, none of those galactic governments were particularly good. Now, you also to show the Jedi were more like samurai than not, if we want to go the Weeb route. I mean, they really were samurai at the very end of the Clone Wars. And the Emperor even, well, they wouldn't have known that he was the Emperor. But the Chancellor even put the Jedi under the control of the Chancellor's office. And when you think about it, that's one of those scary things where that is sort of a slippery slope. Because, okay, let's say you're Bob the alien in the Star Wars galaxy. Putting the Jedi under control of the Chancellor is actually not a bad idea, because when you consider how powerful an individual Jedi is, you know, having them have some sort of oversight, that sounds like a good idea. Unfortunately, well, when you trade freedom for security, you end up getting neither, or a massive Jedi purge. Usually it's just you end up getting neither, so... But it does go to show you how easy it is to just kind of fall into that mindset of, well, you know, somebody needs to keep them under control, so let's just have it be this corrupt politician that looks great because he's got a great marketing team. Let's see. I didn't even know she left the Jedi Order. Oh yeah, the modern day Star Trek stuff is pretty bad. The original stuff is a lot better though. Well, I think that's one of the great aspects of Deep Space Nine. Them being more prepared for the Dominion would really take away from the drama, but when you think about it, as far as the Federation was concerned as of the Dominion War, you know, there was no enemy that could even remotely threaten the Federation. So why prepare for something you don't need to prepare for? Especially when you consider how expensive running even a regular navy is, much less a space navy. My big problem with how the Dominion War ended in Deep Space Nine is it relied upon the Deus Ex, where, you know, it's like Odo had to convince the Changeling leader to surrender. I mean, that was not... I would have liked to have seen, like, the Alpha Quadrant forces actually win legitimately. And that would not be the first time Star Trek would do that. Because there's actually a book arc where the Borg finally attack en masse, which is what everybody wanted. Oh yeah, by the way, almost all of the great planets that everybody loved are destroyed in that, including Ryza. Thanks for that. Thanks for destroying the sex planet. That's real nice. I mean, really, if they wanted to end the Dominion War on a high note, just have the Federation defeat the Dominion. I mean, it's really not that hard. I mean, they were winning. Star Trek's one of those things where you do have to kind of turn your brain off on a few occasions, because it is a very scattershot kind of series, especially when compared to Star Wars in the original EU, where there was an actual plot going on. But even the EU could fall flat on a few occasions. The biggest problem with any sort of multimedia work is you can potentially end up having one faction not make any sense at all. Or, barring that, you can end up having a faction be too weak, or another faction being too strong, and you kind of just have to forget why they're this or that. I mean, Star Trek today doesn't even count as proper science fiction. And really, Star Trek was more of an episodic thing anyway. It wasn't even supposed to be a real hard and fast continuity. They did the best they could with what they had. And I think Star Wars, unfortunately, went on a bit too long, where they had the issue of, okay, Empire's dead, who do we replace them with? And then you get the Yuuzhan Vong War, which isn't bad, but since it's called Star Wars, you have to have a new war every so often, and yeah, it kind of strange credulity once again. And see you, Bob K. And yeah, seriously, writers, why take out the sex planet? Must have been because of the Twitter Puritans. Which don't make much sense, but hey, whatever. Oh, dearie me, it's just... At least Mandalorian is watchable in comparison to, say, STD or Lower Decks. At least Mandalorian appreciates Star Wars. They're not actively denigrating Star Wars and its fans. Now, it only took... I love how that's just CPU and then server. Wouldn't the CPU be in the server? But then again, I guess this is the 90s after all. Alright, let's take a look here. I am, of course, watching it 100% legitimately. I give all money to the mouse because he is my god. And I absolutely love Disney Plus and all the censored Simpsons episodes. At least I think that's on Disney Plus. I could be wrong. I actually did recently watch a video on one of the censored Simpsons episodes, the Michael Jackson one. You know, what's always kind of interesting is listening to people talk about censorship. You know, they always act like it's really not that big of a deal. It's like, well, we're just protecting people. It's like, I think any censorship is a bad thing. I mean, let's face it, a lot of people today don't even know who Michael Jackson even is. And besides, it's an episode from 1990, whatever the fuck. Who cares? And besides, Michael Jackson is dead! It's a good episode on its own merits, whether or not Michael Jackson engaged in the cuties behavior. Now, one of the things about that, though, is I have heard conflicting reports on whether or not he did that or not. Let's see. And yeah, the first order of business with the First Order is simply the fact that they're all way too young for their positions. I mean, no wonder they suck. I mean, they're all like in their 20s. How would they even have a clue how to organize a military? But whatever. It seems like every franchise has to have their characters be like 20. And it's like, how would they possibly have a clue what they're doing? I mean, I look back when I was 20, I wasn't particularly idiotic, but I certainly wouldn't be ready to run a galaxy-spanning empire. Not that I'm running one of those today, that anyone knows of. I think even the Chinese would be more confident than that. I mean, but that's a pretty low bar to hit, though. I mean, I, for one, welcome our new Chinese overlords. Really? Orange card? Let's see, how am I running? This is a massive hub. I forgot how big this was. Alright, let's see. Gonna try to find that yellow door. I'm looking forward to playing AVP 2010, because at least that game will be a little bit more straightforward. Okay, I think the yellow door was back. Was it? I think it was over here. In this hut. No, we just came from here. Maybe it's over here? No, there's another train car. Where the hell does this go? I am confused. Very confused indeed. Wolfman, mature, talented cast. Yeah, even though Wolfman wasn't that great. Vader Rogue One scene. I don't know. I still don't really rate Darth Maul that highly. I mean, he's not bad, but I much preferred the comic return of Darth Maul, where he just was trying to find Obi-Wan, and that was it. And then he died. You know, and that, to me, that was much more satisfying than him being a full-on villain. Oh, that also reminds me. Solo, where Darth Maul shows up. I've seen that scene, and that's the only scene from Solo that I've actually watched. And that was absolutely horrible. Why was he taking out his lightsaber? Why was he posing for that random chick? Really? It's just... It was really overdramatic. So overdramatic, even 60 Star Trek would think they've gone too far. And there's nothing in here. But, I mean, Darth Maul is at least a more intimidating villain than Kylo Ren. Oh yeah, I vaguely remember that. Which to me is a lot better than he's now the new kingpin of crime for whatever reason. Because when you're a Sith, I mean, why would you not go into crime? I mean, technically Darth Bane did that to an extent, but still. Ah, not bad. Netflix. Yeah, from what I've read, Solo has a few issues, to say the least. Most notably, he apparently works for some sort of spider crime boss thing that's sensitive to sunlight, which is precisely why in the spider crime boss's main layer, it has a skylight that Solo can easily shoot out. And then Solo is not his name. They just said that he's Solo, as in alone. And it's like, really? Come on, people. Who could have thought that sounded good? Side effects may vary. Oh my god, we're in Wolfenstein! Actually, those bloody, see, like, if you're not paying attention, those coats look yellow. Until somebody pointed out that it's supposed to be brown, it just looks yellow to me. And they hurt. Those bloody P-38s are painful. Alright, let's see. We're almost at an hour. My wrist is about to give out. And thus we have finished our time up on the holodeck. Let's go to the original Doom entryway here. But I really quite like this mod. But next time we're going back to god damn it. But next time we are going back to AVP 2010, because that is the last of the AVP games so far. I think there was like one on the iOS, but honestly I don't really consider the iOS a valid gaming platform anyway. Ooh, a Ruger Mark III. Not bad. My only problem with the Mark III, though, is it has that really annoying chamber flag that sticks out the side of the bloody receiver, which is one of the reasons why I did not get that. But other than that, it's still a perfectly serviceable, actually, it's a really good firearm. I'd recommend putting a red dot on it, because that really is a force multiplier. Oh god, we got not only the super sphere, but we also have the night vision goggles. This is just melting my eyes. Alright, let's see if we can actually make any more progress. It's like, I don't even know why that's there, because... Which the terror sphere, because I'm not even facing any boss enemies. It's almost as bad as Doom 2016, where I'd always pick up a power-up just after I killed everything. A beat 'em up, huh? Yeah, I never knew what the iOS was, and yeah, Solo. If you want some good Han Solo stuff, read the Han Solo Adventures and the Young Han Solo Trilogy by A.C. Crispin, because that was an actual good book series that actually treated Han Solo with the respect that he deserved, instead of, well, yeah. And that also explained why he was so cynical about the rebellion. In short, the rebellion stole a lot of money from him, and that, of course, made him very displeased. The only problem with the EU, though, is they kept rewriting that as time went on. Originally, when the rebellion stole a lot of Han's money, that also made Lando hate him. But then they changed the reason why Lando hated him to like 3 different reasons. It was really quite idiotic. That's one good thing about 22s. Even now with the ammo demic, you can get it pretty cheap, assuming you can find it. Finding 308 is not particularly easy or cheap. It's now like $1 a round, which is for steel case, no less. I would love to know what that enemy comes from, because that bastard is in a bunch of mods, and they always make him a bullet sponge. But I have no clue what he's from. I assume it's not. Actually, I'm going to make the assumption that that enemy is probably from Strife, because I've not actually beaten Strife. Oh yeah, the SJW droid. See, like, as a fan of Lando Calrissian, okay, I'm gonna call it in just a second. As a fan of Lando Calrissian, in Lando's book trilogy, he had a droid that was this hentai starfish kind of thing. And no, Lando never engaged in the sexy times with his own robot. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I am General Lotz. Next week, we're going to come back and take a look at Alien vs. Predator 2010. I'm going to play that game to its completion, because I want to see if that game holds up better than I think it does. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, I am General Lotz, wishing you good. AVP 2010, Aliens, Eradication, whatever makes you happy.